Yeah, I'm starting to get a little embarrassed with Pokemon. Because fucking Pokemon Sun and Moon, with the rituals, the Tapu Kokos, the Tapu, and all that bullshit, that's stupid. I want to go back to just fucking gyms and everybody like cockfighting and being like, oh yeah, well I'm the best. I'm the best. And they're like, well here's a badge to show that you actually beat the shit out of me. You are better than me. And then you go climb to the top of the mountain and fucking beat the guy that's the best in the land. He's training up there like a boss. It's like fun. Ba-da-da-da. When you meet the final dude and you're like, oh shit, it's going down. And then you battle him and you get fucked up the first time because it's like level 70. Never understood Pokemon games aside from Go. Like, aren't they all the same? No. Well, in a way, yes, no, maybe so. Definitely not the same as Pokemon Go. I fucking hated Pokemon Go. But Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow were the first. Well, Red and Blue were the first ones. Yellow was just like a fan game that was kind of made after the anime, even though the anime wasn't even finished, so the game wasn't fully finished. Which is fucking stupid. You'd think they would have like made an updated version by now, but no. Anyways, Red and Blue was the main game. They're like, oh shit, this is like, there's only 150 Pokemon and it's fucking insane and gotta catch them all and stuff. And catching 150 Pokemon is pretty cool, and then you find out there's a secret 151 Pokemon, and then you defeat like, spoiler alert, because there's like a tiny bit of a story in Pokemon. You defeat Team Rocket because, you know, you defeat their leader and shit, and he's like, fuck it, I'll disband, you know, the whole Team Rocket, and then you become the best in the land and all that shit, and that's the end of the game. And then you go to Gold, Silver, and Crystal, and it's actually a sequel to Red and Blue. So it's 2 years later. You're a totally different character, but Team Rocket's trying to get back together, so you gotta fuck him up again as this totally new character in a new region, and then you find out there's even more Pokemon. There's like 100 new Pokemon. Some are baby descendants, some are new evolutions, and some are just totally new Pokemon in general. And then you also find out, oh, Pokemon can breed, and then they make eggs, Pokemon eggs, and that's where Pokemon come from. And then there's also a new dark element and a new steel element. And then you go around battling the gyms, collecting the badges again, and then disbanding Team Rocket again, and then becoming the best in the land again. And then you're like, wait, there's still one other person. They're the kid who broke up Team Rocket originally 2 years ago. So you go seek him out and battle him as the final battle. And that's the end of the game. So that's Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow, Gold, Silver, Crystal. That was supposed to be the end. 251 Pokemon or something. And then you can find some other secrets, but that's like the main story. And then there's some other legendary Pokemon in the new region. Because you go back to the old region and you have the new region. It's a huge ass fucking game. And then they're like, well, let's just keep going. Let's do Generation 3. And they're like, alright, we're gonna change the history of Pokemon. We didn't find new Pokemon. There's just new Pokemon in each region. And since the last two regions were close together, they just shared a lot of the same Pokemon. And so this is a totally new region, doesn't even connect to the other ones. You have to take a boat to it, or whatever. It's a totally new game also. New, ton of new Pokemon. And then there's 2 enemy teams, and the 2 enemy teams are fighting against each other. So while you're going around collecting badges, trying to, you know, you're battling Pokemon gyms, trying to go to the Pokemon League because you need to collect 8 badges, that's always the same. But the other parts of the story is different. You're a new kid in a new region, collecting the badges. Then you come across these two teams. One wants to expand the landmass. One wants to expand the waters of Earth or some shit. I don't know. And they awaken legendary Pokemon that control weather, including a fucking dragon and shit. Some people were okay with this, but I think it added way too many fucking legendary Pokemon, and I don't think we needed more Pokemon. We had like fucking 300 and something after that. I don't know. Maybe close to 400. No, I think it was in the 300s. 386 or something. And then, 4th generation. New area again. New character. Doesn't connect to anything. And this generation, since it was an even generation, and this became a trend, since it was an even generation, it just added a lot of pre-evolutions and new evolutions. And then there's a team on this one, fucking Galaxy team or some shit, I don't even know. And then they're like trying to get other legendary Pokemon that fucking control space and time, and one's like the god of all Pokemon or some shit. And then that's when I was like, okay, this is getting bullshit. And that's when I was like, fuck this. But that's when I was feeling that way towards the story and some of the new Pokemon. But then at the same time, they've been improving gameplay, because you're still, well, you know, it's still going around battling gyms, 8 gyms, collecting badges, going to the Pokemon League, fighting the best in the land, and becoming the best in the land, the Pokemon League champion. That's what you do pretty much in every single Pokemon game. That's the same. And then there's usually some evil team trying to get some legendary Pokemon or some bullshit like that. That's usually the same. But it's kind of slightly different from each one. And Sun and Moon were very different and stuff. Anyways, so fucking... Oh, and then they kept improving the actual gameplay, which is what I loved. Before, if it was like a fire type move, it was automatically a special move. And then on Generation 4 and upwards, with these fucking space and time legendary Pokemon and shit, they split up all the attacks to physical, special, and status moves. So there could be a fire move that was special, there could be a fire move that was physical, there could be a fire move that was status, and all that stuff. So that was fucking a great addition, or change, or whatever. And also, there's usually 2 main versions. They're basically the same, but the 3rd version just slightly changes the story, might change a gym leader, something like that. Just a slight change. Until you get to the 5th generation, which is Black and White. This was actually the best story ever, in my opinion, and the one that people have wanted, and people who forgot about Pokemon, who just left Pokemon, they're like, well, what if this happened? This is what happened in Black and White. This is what fucking happened. In Black and White, there was a new team, but this team said, fuck all of you guys who are battling with Pokemon. These are animals. They have feelings too. What the hell are you doing? You guys are cruel and evil. And meanwhile, you're just being a Pokemon trainer, battling, doing gyms and everything. So yeah, you're battling, become the best in the new land, which is also a new place, totally new Pokemon, new region, new kid. Fucking, then this team is like, don't battle with Pokemon. Pokemon are people, well, not people too. They're innocent creatures. And this kid like supposedly can like fucking talk to Pokemon or something, I think, if I remember right. And then the guy who raised him, the old man who raised him, it turns out he was just using him to try and like fucking be the best in the world or control the world or something. I wasn't really too clear about that guy. That part was fucking weird. But you stop him with the help of the kid who says you shouldn't battle with Pokemon. He realizes that you battle with Pokemon, not, you know, just using them as tools, but like they're your friends and shit like that, supposedly. And then Black and White also changed because they didn't have a 3rd game. They had another set of 2 games. And it was, again, like a couple years in the future. The area had changed. There's new gyms. And so it was like an actual... Oh, fuck! It was like an actual sequel. So really, Black and White and Black 2 and White 2 are like the best games since the beginning, in my personal opinion. They did whole new Pokemon, they did a whole new region, they did the story where they're like, fuck Pokemon, fuck battling with Pokemon, and then there was an actual sequel instead of just like a kind of a remake with an alternate universe or some bullshit, like most Part 3s are, or Part 2s, which is the third of the bundle or whatever. Generation 6 comes along, X and Y, blows everybody's nips out of the water, and so we're like, oh fuck, 3DS. Pokemon look just like they did in Pokemon Stadium, fully 3D moving and everything, instead of just like 2D sprites that stand still or maybe like move a little bit. And so we finally get it, and it's short as fuck. And they add a new fairy type, so that's something, I guess. I don't know, whatever. So you go around collecting badges, fight the Pokemon League. But there's some weird ass fucking story in it, and you don't understand it until like towards the end. There's some fucking team called Team Flare or something, and then there's some immortal guy who had some immortal Pokemon or something that died or some fucking shit, but then it comes back to life. There's some ultra weapon. So I had no fucking idea what was going on. That made no goddamn sense. It was all just kind of wrapped up and explained at the end of that story in like one cutscene, because they started adding more and more cutscenes around I'm not sure if it was Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, or it was Black and White when they started adding the cutscenes. So they made it more like JRPGs. And then they didn't give us a third game to X and Y. They didn't go XYZ. They even had a Pokemon anime called XYZ. There was never a Z game. There was XYZ legendary Pokemon, but there was never a fucking Z game. First they remake Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, or Ruby and Sapphire. They made it into Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. And then they go to the next generation of Pokemon, which is Sun and Moon. And instead of going around the area collecting badges, battling gyms and gym leaders, and then battling the Pokemon League and shit, you go around doing island challenges. So with island challenges, you just usually do some kind of mini game side quest bullshit, and then you usually battle a really strong, bigger version of an already existing Pokemon. And after you defeat them, you can't capture them. After you defeat them, then you pass the trial. Pass all the trials, and then you get to battle in their new Pokemon League that they just created. And the story with that is there's new dimensions, and they kind of touched upon new dimensions with Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, with the whole space and time and all that shit. But with this, they actually make fucking wormholes or some shit. There's Pokemon that can make wormholes. There's Ultra Beasts from different dimensions or some bullshit. You can go to some of these dimensions. I haven't played Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon yet. It doesn't look like it's an actual sequel. It just looks like another Part 3 or Part 2 or whatever. Okay, fucking yeah. So there's Ultra Beasts Pokemon, sort of legendary Pokemon, but not quite legendary Pokemon, that come from fucking different dimensions. Become the best in the land, capture all these Ultra Beasts. And then there's also guardians of each of the 4 islands. That's what the Tapu are, the Tapu Koko or whatever the fuck. And it's so stupid. And now there's like 800 fucking Pokemon. And we don't know what's coming next, when the next generation is, if they're remaking... Oh, no, wait, no, there is going to be a next generation. Because they say the next Pokemon game is going to be on the Nintendo Switch. And they're already kind of working on it. But it's barely in development.